So today's episode is a little bit different than our past ones. We are celebrating 30 episodes, and we wanted to share with you guys what is working for us right now and what's not. When it comes to personal growth, personal development, there's often a lot of trial and error. So it's always good to share with you what we're doing, what we're thinking of doing, and what's worked and what's not. So, Kat, how are you feeling about this episode?
I like it. I like doing something a little bit different. When we record episodes, they're evergreen, meaning most people can pick it up and listen to them any time of year. But we are recording this midway through the year, so I think it's good to do a mid-year check-in as well.
Yeah. And I think with stuff like this, if somebody can always come in and listen and go, oh, okay, well, they're trying this then. And maybe, a year from now, when we come back to this or we do another one at the end of the year, we can just kind of share what things are kind of getting picked up and dropped. So I like this idea of having a bit of a series with this over the years as we continue on.
Yeah, me too.
So what do you think? When I ask you what's working for you this year so far, what kind of pops to mind?
I mean, I think that this year, just like the last few years for me, has been full of a lot of changes. And I think the most positive change that I can say, I guess there's two things at the midpoint of the year. The first positive change is in my health, and the second positive change is in my finances. I made a lot of big decisions financially, moved to Chicago, took my kids out of private school. I did a lot of different things that I never thought I would, for more reasons than just money. But all of the decisions that I've made have allowed me to pay down a lot of debt so far this year. And I'm on track to reach the goals that I want at the end of this year, provided it all keeps going well. And then health-wise, I mean, we're always trying to improve our health, but I have 3 different autoimmune diseases. And last year when the third one got tacked on, I was really devastated. Like I've always been active. I danced my whole life for 20 years. And just the thought of having any type of health issue was sort of shocking to me, but explained a lot. And so I've been doing a really good job taking my vitamins, minerals. You and I have both drastically changed how we eat. And
Absolutely.
I've noticed a lot of positive changes in my energy levels. And, my major disappointment, honestly, is that I didn't do this 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I always just thought I was a low energy person and never understood why everyone else had so much more energy than me. And now I'm starting to feel a lot better, and it's been life changing. What about you?
Wow. Well, first of all, that's awesome. I think that's with any good discovery, we're always like, man, why didn't I discover this so long ago?
Mm-hmm.
But the things that are working for me are, I started looking into biohacking. I don't even know how I stumbled onto it. I think, just the internet gods just showed that in my feed one day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we discovered was having the right vitamins and minerals in our bodies kind of helps give us better fuel. So I looked into that a lot, and I shared that with you. And those basic things like, I think it's vitamin D and minerals, like a broad assortment of minerals, were really the things that were working for me. And it's just so much. It's like any kind of car, right? If you put better fuel in, you have better performance. If you have kind of lesser fuel, it's not as great for the car. And that is about all I know about cars too, ladies and gentlemen. So that's where it goes. So what wasn't working for me at the start of the year was my medication, as we talked about in an earlier episode. And one of the things that is working for me, I haven't been perfect with it, and that's how I know it's working for me, is the avoiding inflammatory foods and kind of going on more of an anti-inflammatory diet, so to speak. I don't want to use the word diet because I know it has just negative connotations, but
we've adapted a new food lifestyle for the most part.
And
man.
it's been very, very beneficial to the point where we know the things that aren't good for us. And when we have them, there are effects that can happen within like half an hour, depending on the type of
Yep.
food, to like days afterwards, where we're like, this is awful. Like, why did we have this thing? But you're human, and you have the cravings and stuff. So it's part of it is just kind of knowing how to handle yourself through those things. So
Yeah.
when it comes to health, there's a lot of things I didn't do, but I'll focus on the things I have done. And I'm trying to move more every day, I've bought a whole bunch of different things and just trying to make more sense out of how do I get more in my day while at the same time making more time to slow down, which we'll get to in a minute. But the biggest things are making sure the body that I have is at an optimal state. And when it's not, I've noticed that everything else falls apart. You know, the relationships are harder, friendships, parenting, all these things get harder when you feel like you have to basically lug yourself around
Yeah.
on a day-to-day
It's so
basis.
true.
It's something you don't, it sounds so funny to say, but once you get that out there and you're like, wow, when I have energy to do things, I feel better and the people around me are better because I'm not like resenting the things that I
Yeah.
have to do.
I
So that's
think
been a big one.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think by and large, like all of us grown-ups around here, we know what we're supposed to do. All of us know we're supposed to move our bodies and eat well and sleep well. We just don't. And the thing that we're learning, and we are, as always, we throw out disclaimers like we are not experts in this stuff. We are just
Nope.
sharing what we're doing in real time. But one of the things that we learn from, reading and different, researching different articles is that in the past, the food that you eat would have the proper vitamins and minerals that you would need to sustain your body. But for a variety of reasons, the food that we have today, food production is very different, don't have as many of the minerals that they're supposed to have. And so we have been adding those in, and it's made such a big difference. And what is the book? What is the original book? Was it a biohacking book that talked about the vitamins and minerals?
Yeah. So that was, there was like Smarter Not Harder,
Yeah.
was one of them, and I just got through Fast This Way. Another good one was Plant Paradox, because that talks about your, like, to me, I never thought, I knew nothing about my body, so like gut microbiome and all these things and all these fancy words that are really good in Scrabble, but not much else in my conversations. I looked into, I gave myself permission to be a learner again, which is always a key thing. And so Plant Paradox kind of got me to get rid of a lot of foods, or at least identify the ones that were bad for me. And even doing the 23andMe, where I saw, okay, all my genetics are from Europe.
Yeah.
So certain foods from this continent aren't great for me because my body hasn't got used to them yet. And we're not talking like, in my lifetime, I probably will not get used to them in the way that people who are from this continent originally in an ancestry type of way. But the vitamins was really, really key. Like even taking, I think our first little foray into it was like having calm, like the magnesium.
Yeah.
Before bed.
Sleep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that just helped relax us. And if you are feeling really tense and stressed out, you might have a magnesium deficiency. Of course, go talk to your doctor and all the disclaimers. But
read
to
all
me,
the things, yourself. But we're just trying different things, and we're noticing it's working for us.
Yeah. So that was a big one, because I think that was the one that happened where I'm like, wow, I had a good night's sleep, and now I feel better, and I'm interacting in a more pleasant way with everyone around me, and more importantly with my own mental self.
Yeah.
And then you start to go, okay, well, what else could help? not what's missing, because I like to think that, you're okay
Yeah,
as you are, but if
sure.
there's things that are boosting you, you want to look into them. So I've really gone into proper food, supplements, timing of things. And I'm giving myself permission right now. I haven't even talked about this with you at all, but I have started to look at like the dosages, and, it'll say take 3 capsules once a day. I'm looking at it going, okay, well, let's just try 1 capsule and
Yeah,
see how that goes. Because when you start taking a whole bunch of things, you want to make sure
yeah,
you know which ones are working and which ones aren't.
that makes
So
sense. That
yeah,
does make sense. And honestly, I feel better now physically than I have in a long time. Before I had my autoimmune diagnoses, I would lie in bed at night and have this like searing hip pain. And I remember like finally going to a doctor about it and had x-rays on my hips and all this stuff. And of course, it's like, not much is wrong, but it's like all these things that I could have done, all these invasive things to figure out what was wrong. Now I know exactly what makes my hips start searing and pain. I know exactly what food does it for me. And I've gone like months and months without pain. And it's just wild to me that it's like we know this, but it's becoming more and more apparent how much our food is really everything. It's everything. It's our mood. It's our mental health. It's our energy levels. It's everything. And I'm waiting for both of us to just like finally accept it some more. It's like we know it. We're doing so much better than we ever have. But we do like our little
yeah.
treats sometimes.
Yeah, it's really hard to stop cookies and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
again, it's if you look at it like it's a challenge that you want to rise to the occasion of, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I just need to find a quote unquote healthy treat. It gets a little easier. I think it's when you feel forced to do it. It's a
Yeah.
lot more of a challenge. And I think there's that kind of, I know when, we're both kind of type A go getter type people.
Yeah.
And so when somebody tells you you have to do this thing to be better, you kind of, you grit your teeth a little bit and you kind of go,
Yeah.
well, I'll show you, I'll find a different way. But this food thing is starting to be that, okay, maybe I need to just kind of give into
Yeah.
certain things. But
And for the record, that makes this type of conversation really hard because all like the predominant thoughts in my mind are everything I could have done better. It's like a mid-year check-in. I'm like, well, I could have done that better. And I could have like, been this on the scale, or, I could have paid off a little bit more debt, or maybe I could have promoted our podcast a little bit more. And so I am like actively fighting that part of my brain that's telling me that I'm not enough in this conversation. I'm trying to say, nope, I've done a good job. I know all the, I have done some things better.
it might help for each of us to kind of acknowledge what the other person has done better, because clearly, I know that voice in your head, and because I know it because it's in my head too. I think we all have that. It's always and that's why we're talking what's working, what's not,
What's not,
what
yeah.
I didn't do, not
Yeah.
what I didn't do that I should have done. So, um, I think you have done an amazing job this year. You've moved states. You have, you've done. When I think about what's working and what's not, I think I've been trying to stretch out my timeline beyond even the 5 years and kind of thinking of things like, okay, so I'm going to say I'm going to say I have 100 more years on this planet. Let's just use that nice round number.
Sure, why not?
Sure, why not? So if I can make these little changes today, just a little change, if like maybe taking my vitamins every day is that thing that gives me more energy, and that more energy gives me an extra, let's just say, half hour of productivity every day. That's a lot over the next 5 years, but it's an incredible amount over the next 100 years, or even 10, 20, whatever time frame you want to have. So what you've been doing has this monumental impact on your life with your diet, with finances, with your energy. And yeah, it feels like, yeah, you could have done more. We all could have,
Yeah.
but that's not what it's about. And the biggest thing I'm trying to work on in my mind right now is to get the drill sergeant, which is the guy that has been pushing me my whole life to be the best person ever, to become who I am to everybody else, which is like, you're doing so good. And,
Yeah.
and that is my goal for the rest of the year, is to just be kinder to myself and see if
Yeah.
that actually helps me move forward faster. And if it doesn't move forward faster, I'm hoping that if nothing else, it's the same speed and it just feels better.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing, because I find like the anxiety anxiety comes from within, right?
Sure.
And when you can acknowledge that, you know what, you're just putting these unreal expectations on yourself. Let's just celebrate what you did and see if that makes you feel any better. Maybe when you feel better, you want to do more, much like when you took the vitamins and got the good sleep and ate the
Yeah.
good foods, you felt like doing more versus the
So
other
true.
stuff. So I
Yeah.
think
And
you've done a lot this year, just
thank
for the
you.
record.
Thank you. And same for you, of course. I mean, it's been a huge year of transition. And I've, of course, been with you as you have, especially during the time period that you were slowly weaning off antidepressants and, getting used to and getting your body kind of back used to creating its own, good vibes again on its own. And that was a really difficult transition for you. I was,
Oh, yeah.
worried about you quite a bit, but you came through it. And that's the thing about you, Andrew, is you are always trying to improve. You never like sit back on your laurels. And like, I know we're supposed to be practicing that more, but it is a cool thing about you, is that if something's not working, if your sleep is not great, if, you want to learn something more, you always do.
I'm a doer.
That's right. And I do love that about you. And I think would be helpful for our listeners. Like, we're just this sort of is a chit chat episode, but I will tell you that one of the New Year's traditions that Andrew and I do is, we have taken like a long walk, and we try to go through each month and like think about something that we did or got accomplished or that we're proud of. And like for us, it was like, oh, we went to this place, or, went to this conference, like, and then you can really see like how much you've done in a year. But at this midway point, it's also a good idea to do that, just in case you want to get to the end of the year and start feeling, really good about everything that's happened this year. And even if this year was like your year of rest, the year that you finally, stopped running at such a harried pace. And when you finally started to just like, knit again, or whatever it is that you like to do, that's a win too. Like, you get to define for yourself what your wins are, and you get to decide for yourself, like, what feels good for you, what makes you proud of you. And that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the year. And so with that said, Andrew, I was just curious, got the last half of the year here. What's like the big thing that you hope to say when we do our sort of New Year's check-in?
The New Year.
Yeah. Like, what are you hoping in this last half that you can be like, oh, I did this in August and September?
I am wanting to get, I almost resist putting this out there, because that means I know I got to do it. So here we go. I want to get going on my creation as far as like social writing. I really like, I'm submitting that book proposal again today, as you know, and I'm going to start just adopting the lifestyle of being a writer. And I've really hesitated on it the first half of the year, largely because of I know when we did the episode of coming off the antidepressants, I was pretty much off them and I was going on the highs and lows and stuff. But there's a readjusting period that took a lot longer than I thought. It took about 3 months, I think,
agree.
for me to be like, this is okay. I think I'm good now, and then something would happen, and it's the storm had to settle emotionally, and I'm grateful it did. So now, kind of going into the last half of the year, I'm looking at things going, okay, I know I'm here to help everybody. I want to start doing more on the site, and as far as writing and sharing more ideas, things that I'm playing with that are working, aren't working right now. I spent a lot of the beginning of the year, as you know, focused on getting good sleep. And so I'm just kind of talking about that on Instagram and on
Yeah.
our channels and stuff, because it, I'm really trying to drive forward to people that it doesn't have to be these huge things, and doing one little thing every
Yeah.
month is still 12 things that you didn't do at the beginning of the year. So my big thing is, like, I want to get to the end of the year and go, wow, look, you are living the writer's life that you wanted to live when you were 13, 14 years old, and finally are doing that. And I'd like to see our kind of coaching, our program, get out there. And I think that's all kind of tied up into what we're doing.
I
How
agree
about
with
you,
that.
Catherine?
The number one thing that I think about, and I think it will make the biggest impact on my life, is I really want to get to the end of the year and look back and say, I have paid off like all of my high interest debt, because not only does it bother me on a daily basis, just managing it and thinking about it and working towards it, but it also creates a lot of like self-loathing in me and like feelings of being like an imposter, because my day job is as a financial writer, and I have published a personal finance book. And this high interest debt is a result of going through a divorce 2 years ago. But it's been 2 years, and I'm finally getting to the point where I'm making some really good progress on it. And I just think mentally for myself, I will just feel like so much better about me. And if I could start the new year, without it, I will feel like I can then start to really reach some of my other goals that I want to do, and like do more fun things and travel and things like that. But right now, most of the decisions I make every day are thinking about dealing with that. And, obviously I want to, we have collectively lost quite a bit of weight. I think collectively we've probably lost about 50 pounds this year, or maybe in the last 12 months or so.
To be fair, every time I find it after Chick-fil-A, but go on.
We've done a great job. Not that the number on the scale is a big thing, but like I want to keep making progress, keeping my energy up. I don't want to quit any of the good habits that you and I have developed that have been working really well. But I will say that is like the biggest thing that occupies my mind as far as self-improvement, trying to get to the 5-year version of myself and all of that.
Cool. I like that. Let me know how I can support you with all that stuff, because that's what we're all about, is having a good community where we can support each other.
I
and
am
do all
taking
the things.
coffee donations, but other than that.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Always a little more coffee. A couple of rapid fire things that have been working for me, and what I've noticed working for you, are consistency. And we talk about streaks. Like, I know you started Duolingo a week ago, and that's really awesome. I stopped my meditation streak probably when I really shouldn't have, but that's just me being mean to me. But I was at like 1,200 days or something like that, and I was just doing different energy trainings and stuff. So I was doing a lot of energy work, and I just didn't do the meditation part. And I noticed that not having it has impacted me. So I think I need to be
restart
consistent.
The streak. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get good at streaking in a non-nude sense, of course. But
you were all thinking it.
Yeah. I really do find that, you got to know yourself. And some people can go Monday to Friday and then pick up. I can do that with certain things, but I feel like, if I'm enjoying it, why wouldn't I want to do it a little bit every day? So
like that.
That's been one of my big insights for myself. And what I'm kind of noticing for you too, you've set that for a few things, and you're like, I got to do this. And if you don't have that streak, you don't do it at the end of the day. When you're going to bed, you won't learn that extra French word or Spanish word on Duolingo, because you don't have the streak that's keeping it going.
Yeah.
And
I think streaks are a major major motivating thing. And I used to think it was just a you thing and like just sort of how your math brain works. But now I'm realizing it's actually really good for me too. So, and that can work for anything. And different apps have streaks you can keep track, but you can also just print out a calendar and put an X on it and just keep connecting all the X's on each day, whatever it is, taking your walk, doing yoga, reading 10 pages of a book, whatever it is, and just try not to break those connecting X's. And you really don't, especially if you have a visual reminder, you really don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was Jerry Seinfeld that said like that's what he attributes to his success. He used to print out like a month's worth of calendars on the wall and he put an X next to every day and he had to write a joke every day. And he said like, he was writing for the trash basket, but it's just that proliferation
That's right.
and effort and consistency that is going to bring your success. So it doesn't have to be huge too. It's not like he said, I have to write the world's greatest joke every day. He's like, I had to write a joke. And it could have been good or bad. And, it's just getting your brain into that tuning of it.
Right.
So I think that's a really good thing. I'm very happy you're streaking with me. And I couldn't leave it. I really couldn't.
You could have,
anyway,
though. But
no, I probably could have, but I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be true to me without making, a bad dad joke. The other thing, so for me, if I was to attribute the things that I really am happy with this first half of the year, were all energy-based things. Good sleep, good food, good vitamins, good activity. I'm trying to get movement into my daily routine as much as possible. And I kind of feel like once you take care of the body, the other stuff's going to be easier because you have the energy to do all the other things. And it took a lot of trial and error, but I feel like I'm at a better spot with that. I feel like you are too, definitely, from the start of the year.
For sure. I think back to, how I felt, of course, like when my twins were born, my energy was like nothing. But I think back to even 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and the way that I feel during the day is like drastically different. And I'm so grateful for all the things that we've learned. And I'm glad I finally took the time to take care of myself. And so I guess my biggest message to anyone listening to this is it's definitely worth it to, put your own oxygen mask on first. And if you have things that you've been putting off or things that you want to do, like feeling good about yourself and having energy throughout the day really does make all aspects of your life better, your relationships better, makes you a more patient parent.
Absolutely.
It makes you less grumpy with your other half, all the different things. So if that's one thing that I could share is I hope that you listening to this can hear that all of these things are new changes for us. They've been very gradual and incremental. We have not made any drastic decisions, but they've all contributed and worked together to help us make some progress in the first half of the year. And we still have some to go and things to work on. And I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. I really like that. So we always end with glimmers, but I feel like this episode is a little different. Do you have a glimmer you want to share?
Well, I was thinking of a glimmery thing, and I agree, this episode is slightly different, but I will say, and this is on the same vein of everything we talked about, that I have been talking to Andrew about getting a mini trampoline, like a resistance trampoline. And you recently gifted it to me. And so I can't really report back on it because I've only had it for a few days, but I can report back at the end of the year to let everyone listening know how I liked it. But so far it's a really fun thing. And I'm really surprised at like how my legs and arms are burning. Like in just like 60 seconds, I'm like, whoa. So that'll be sort of a new fun exercise thing. I'm trying to sort of start that streak habit.
Good for you. I like that.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm going to go with the same thing. I bought myself a Vibe platform, which is like the biohackers version of the trampoline. And I'm just kind of curious because what it does is it does a bunch of things, but the one I'm looking at, it vibrates at a certain frequency. And the idea is that when it's vibrating at 30 hertz and you do a push up, it's like your body thinks it's doing like 30 push ups. So I am trying this out, and it is a lot harder to do push-ups and squats and different things on it. So I'm leaning into the biohacking stuff as
Cool.
a new thing.
I
But
like it.
yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes by the end of the year too.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to stop. And as always, like we would love to hear how you're doing in your first half of the year. If there's anything that's worked for you or hasn't worked, you can email us anytime at hello@5yearyou.com.
Hey, one last thing. Don't forget to go to 5yearyou.com/future to start getting those emails from your future self. It will change your life.
Hey guys, quick disclaimer. We're podcasters on the internet. If you need to seek professional help, please go see your healthcare professional.